So here's where we are. We now know Russian hackers breached voter systems of 2 Florida counties in 2016. Republican Florida Governor Ron DeSantis confirmed this news for us earlier this week. Then he went on to say he has signed a non-disclosure agreement with the FBI, promising not to be the one to tell the public which voter registration systems were hacked by the Russians. Earlier today, Florida lawmakers received a classified briefing from the FBI where they learned the identities of the counties. Our next guest, Mark Caputo of Politico, confirmed a story in the Washington Post tonight, the gist of which is we know one of the counties, one of the voter registration databases. It was Washington County, Florida, breached by the Russian hackers in 2016. Small county, Florida Panhandle, where, like the other counties in the Panhandle, it went heavily for Donald Trump. So, again, now we know one of the counties hacked, but no word on the other. Meantime, the public's being asked to believe the government when it says election results weren't impacted by these breaches. There's no evidence that voter databases were tampered with. Politico is tonight quoting from a member of Congress in Florida who says the FBI briefing, quote, lawmakers weren't able to get with certainty that the databases had been left alone, explaining the FBI told them hackers were able to enter the garage, but not the house of the 2 county networks. That lays aside the fact that often in the garage you can walk right into the kitchen, but be that as it may. Let's talk about it with Clint Watts, former FBI special agent. He's also a distinguished research fellow at the Foreign Policy Research Institute, happens to be the author of Messing with the Enemy, Surviving in a Social Media World of Hackers, Terrorists, Russians, and Fake News. We welcome to the broadcast as well tonight Mark Caputo. He covers 2020 politics and all things Florida for Politico. He is tracking this story tonight in Miami, making him a Florida man by extension. Hey, Mark, I assume that we know the identity of Washington County. No thanks to the FBI. What is the state of play there tonight as you know it?
Well, state of play kind of across the state is puzzlement. Whether it's Republicans or Democrats, no one's really sure why the FBI is keeping just the information about the identities of these 2 counties secret. This is something that happened in 2016. The FBI said, as you just quoted, that the voter registration data was not changed. Now we're supposed to believe them. They say voter tabulation systems, which are separate systems, were not changed. We're supposed to believe them. And they said there was no threat posed afterward. And yet this information is being kept by people. And information abhors a vacuum, especially when it comes to voting and voting systems. And numerous lawmakers and election supervisors are criticizing the FBI, basically saying they're kind of useful idiots for the Russians. Because what the Russians did is they came in, they hacked, they caused chaos, they had a disinformation campaign that they ran on social media and the like. And what the FBI is doing is kind of unwittingly going along with this idea and not allowing people to have more information. And as a result, more speculation is flooding in. Now people are doubting whether vote tabulation systems and vote tallies were changed. Now they're doubting whether the election really was done fair and square. And one way to counter this and one way to overcome this is to give people just a little more comfort and a little more information. This isn't me saying it. It's Republican members of Congress. It's Democratic members of Congress. It's the Republican governor. It's the Democratic Party of Florida. And it's election supervisors of both stripes. It's really puzzling as to why this is being kept secret.
Well, that's why I have a former G-man sitting just to my left here in New York. Clint, if a mortar round landed in, let's pick one, Pasco County, Florida,
right,
the local people would be told. How is this any less of attack? That the fact is things weren't broken by this. In all your time with the FBI, did you ever sign a governor to a non-disclosure agreement like a celebrity nanny?
I never did, but that wouldn't necessarily be out of protocol, meaning that if it is still classified, if the information is still classified, they may have someone sign an NDA.
And why would the information still be classified?
That, I think, is the point that we should focus on, which is it's been 3 years. At this point, it just sows more conspiracy. Every single time this comes up, if you don't close it out. What did we see when the Mueller indictments came out?
Yep.
What did we see when the Mueller report came out? It was answers. And as soon as there's answers, people tend to, settle down and they will go with, okay, this is documented, this is what we know. The only things that I can think of is, one, you don't want to let your adversaries know where they got you or oftentimes how you detected them. That doesn't apply here because the Mueller report has already come out. That's how we know about some of this. The other part of it could be that it's part of an ongoing investigation. Maybe there is some other portion of this that they still are trying to pursue investigatively in terms of an intelligence investigation or in terms of maybe some sort of indictment down the road. That could be that redacted portion we see. Beyond that, it might be protecting a foreign intelligence source. It maybe helped us try to discover this stuff, but they don't really need to disclose that. They can still tell us what happened without telling us how they figured that out. So it's really puzzling to me how they don't see conspiracy being sown after we've seen this for 3 years now, by not coming forward and saying, this is what we know, this is what you need to know as the public, nothing was changed, and here's what we're going to do to make sure it doesn't happen next time.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.